a while since we've done a top 5 ranking. Actually, how long has it been? Jesus Christ. Anyway, we are doing the top 5 underrated or forgotten TDS maps.
Number 10.
Surprising barely everyone, we are putting Marshlands at the number 5 spot. Now, I'm not saying that this map is barely anyone playing at all, but there's barely anyone playing at all. This is why it's at the number 5 spot, which is the weakest map points. So, what is it about this map that basically makes it undesirable or just no one wants to play it? And the first thing about this map is just the fact that it is in a swamp, or at least as close to a swamp as you could think of. Because of it being in a swamp, or at least as we all know, swamps aren't necessarily anything that are like kind of creative or too much of a pleasant experience. So realistically, this Marshlands thing should be pretty much the exact same way, where there's pretty much not anything in this game, or at least map. Let's go ahead and go over what are the things in this map that kind of make it in a unique style. Well, there's messy water, or at least as clear as water as you could see. There's some trees, some plants in the water, and that's about it. And I guess the only other thing that actually gives more points to this map is how this map has a night feature to it, like, you know, the day and time is literally nights. And aside from that, that's all that this map actually has to offer to basically make it more unique than all the other maps. Now, sure, there are also a bunch of other maps that also are during the night, but this one is, I guess, one of the, earliest, or at least first ones to where it's the night ones. But really, there's just nothing really in this map that just differentiates it to all the other maps. Sure, actually a decent amount, since there's barely fucking anything on this map. This map is okay-ish in my opinion.
Number 14.
Next up we have is Retro Zone. So this is a kind of map that barely anyone fucking plays, and I played this, I believe, twice or 3 times, I can't even remember, but also including the recording you're actually seeing here. But anyway, let's go over why this map is just really underrated. Or first off, completely the opposite of Marshlands, of there is nothing here. Retro Zone, there is actually quite a lot of stuff to actually look at. For an example, there's a whole neon paradise things aesthetic. I don't really know anything about that music genre, but it's there. Then you've got like computer replicas, and then you've got the buildings, and there is definitely a bit of stuff to actually look at. However, I believe the main part about this map that just really big problem is that it's a really small map. And it's not like it's because this map is like rated as like difficult, it's just the fact that it's actually pretty small of a map. Trill wise, no, not really, but like map sizes, like as they put on stuff on the map, yes, there's really nothing much, as you are literally just in a giant bright void-ish, I guess, of existence, where you are literally outside of reality, floating stuff where there's just buildings and shit. So there's kind of really nothing actually around the place for some reason. There's only just the stuff in the middle with like buildings and computers, and aside from that, there's barely fucking anything else. Sure, it's kind of creative and nice to see it for like the first, I don't know, 5 minutes, but after that you're just like, well, okay, how much longer do I have to be here for?
Number 7.
So the halfway point we have is Moonbase. So Moonbase is a type of map that is basically the complete opposite of Retro Zone, like completely. Instead of having a lot of stuff on this map, Moonbase has basically fucking nothing, or at least mostly nothing on this map. Where Retro Zone, there's barely like a little bit of a small map, this map is a fucking huge map. Now, it's not saying that this map is like really difficult, like for an example, the spawns are like a lot faster or whatever. It's just the fact that this map is just fucking huge, and a large majority of the map is just literally just a flat ground where there's sometimes like these giant holes in the ground, or just like simple mountains build up, and then there's some like satellites and some even buildings in there, which I guess is supposed to make it look like this is some sort of space resort, or at least another place for, you know, mankind to actually live. There is this building on the very back end of the map where the hole in the wall is, and there's these two in these windows for some reason, and I already know what's gonna happen next. So this map is, I guess, very very huge, and with that very huge of map, there's just barely fucking anything on this map. Sure, when you look around, it's kind of like oh, here's another divot in the ground, or here's just another mountain, here's another satellite beam or whatever. And aside from that, you get bored pretty easily. I guess there is just a black empty void, and next to that void, or inside of that void, there is a very neonish earth. I don't know why it's like hyperventilating or just having a lot of bluish neon stuff on it, but I guess that wins some extra points. Moonbase is a huge ass map, and there's just a lot of emptiness, and really they need to make some work of this map.
Number 5.
Into the number 2 spot we have is the Nether. Now this is a map that I'm actually surprised that there's barely anyone playing it. As you can see, sometimes I do play this map because I sometimes remember that this map even exists. And quite honestly, I do like this map. It's basically you being in hell itself, and there's just a bunch of lava that looks like that Fruita orange juice. Also, there's just a bunch of like pillars and buildings, kind of hellish style. And quite honestly, I do like the skybox as it literally is like red and blackish, and it's really nice break from the good old-fashioned sunny and bright as hell day. So really, this is just a map that I actually do like to play every now and again, especially when I do remember that it actually exists. But that's the problem with this map. With all the other like much more updated and more remastered maps, there's this map that is still being left behind and still having like old models, I guess, still here. But also because there's just other better maps than this one. Sure, there was that one like Lava Abyss one, I can't remember what it was called, and then there's this one which is kind of a little bit of a downgrade since there's a lot of like small singular like bridges and shit like that. But quite honestly, this map is a pretty good one, but there's just so many other better maps. The skybox is, I guess, okay, especially for the lighting, but like Jesus Christ, it does need some rework. Then there's the buildings and sceneries, which are, you know, okay, but also still need to be some more recent upgrades, especially for the enemy models.
Number 1.
Check this out.
Ironically, it also has its name basically describing how forgotten this map is. Forgotten Docks. This map, I have never played it once. I didn't even know it actually existed in this game. Every time I was like looking through the mappings, I just completely glossed over it, or when I would actually hover over the whole map selection thing, I would be like, what the fuck is Forgotten Docks? I have never once played this without even any other randoms on this map. This map is basically just everything of there is nothing to look at, it's a very small map, and just generally just a map that is easily underrated and so forgotten. So, what is on this map? Well, just as the name suggests, as Forgotten Docks, these are supposed to be abandoned buildings and stuff like that. As you can see, there's like planks and stuff on the ground that are falling out. There's supposed to be a little small town of people that once lived here, buildings, and that's about it. There's really nothing else in this map that actually supposed to make it stand out than all of the other maps that we talked about on this list and all the other maps that we haven't talked about on this list. So generally, this map is just really kind of boring. There's just really nothing to look at, especially when you're like in the middle of a canyon, and really there's no like boats in the distance or like water or anything like that. I mean, yeah, sure, there is water, but really this map is just pretty fucking boring. And sure, me using the turn here actually makes it look fun, but really this map is quite forgettable, and just really this map needs some heavy rework, especially making it just a little bit bigger with more buildings and shit would make it a bit more popular, or at least have at least one person playing it. But just like in its name, this Forgotten Docks is definitely forgotten.